Also, as always, we will be recording this update webinar. It will be live on our YouTube channel in next 24 to 48 hours. During this webinar, I can't hear you. What I can see if you do ask questions though. For that, we have a Q&A box, which you'd see at the bottom of your Zoom screens, or maybe wherever, depending on whatever device you're using Zoom on. So you'll see a Q&A box. Please use that to ask your questions. I'll try to get to them as much as possible. We have a bunch of updates today that we will go through, but a lot of those I think I'll get through fairly quickly. So I'll have a lot of time at the end of this webinar to take questions. With that, I have some questions. Can I ask you here? Cool. I was about to get started and I saw David's question. David, if you have questions around outside of the product updates, if I do get time at the end of it, I will try to answer them. But if you have questions around how to group things in PriceLabs, etc., I will recommend joining the advanced PriceLabs training call. That is generally very, very useful for anyone to figure out how PriceLabs works. Cool. Give me a second here, guys. Sorry. All right. Let me share my screen. Sorry, juggling a bunch of different screens today. All right. Cool. All right. So as you can see, what we're going to talk about is a bunch of things that lead to better revenue performance at PriceLabs and things that we worked on in 2023 March, particularly. Couple of very simple things that we'd cover today. We'd cover things that have changed on the ComSet side and how and why, based on our analysis, it leads to better pricing and recommendations. And there's a bunch of things that we're doing this year, particularly around improving recommendations, especially 2023, once again, looks like a fairly volatile year. And so as we go through the year, we'll be talking about those in coming months. Number two, I'm going to talk about pacing data that we have introduced at PriceLabs. We've been talking about this, about pacing data and related graphs for last couple of months, I want to say. And that's largely because there was a major change that we did in how we stored and architected data in PriceLabs. And so as we would go through again throughout this year, you will see us expose a lot more of data. And so if you have recommendations or asks and that you've already asked our team, maybe you'll see that come through in coming months because of how we save and store this data. Great. Okay. Next, what we're going to talk about, which may not be very relevant for this audience because I'm an English speaker, so I'm assuming you're attending this conference because you're an English speaker as well. But we're going to talk a little bit about, or actually we're not going to talk about it, but PriceLabs is now available in Spanish. So if you have friends or anyone you know who was not using PriceLabs because it was not available in Spanish, you can let them know, and hopefully they'll use PriceLabs. And then finally, oftentimes we've heard how can people use PriceLabs to understand how some of their competitors are pricing. And so we have made changes to that, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Cool. As a first thing that we have done is we've changed how we used to create automated ComSets at PriceLabs. Previously, we used to use 350 closest properties regardless of the size, and would give a slightly higher weightage to the homes that were similar size to your property. So what I mean by that is, say if you had a 2-bedroom, we would find 350 closest properties, and whether that was a studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, whatever, and we would give a slightly higher weightage to the 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, but we'll still take into account what's happening at a studio level and at a 3-bedroom level, right? Now, this generally worked, but say if you had a 6-bedroom apartment, right, and there were not as many 6 bedrooms in your area, that you were getting a little bit impact from those studio 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, a little bit more, right? So especially if you were in these very large homes or homes that were like sizes that were not common in your area, it would result in even with increased weight for your own like-to-like properties, right? You would see not as good pricing from PriceLabs, and it would be a little bit noisy. And then secondly, as you were working through neighborhood data, and I'm going to show you what neighborhood data is if you're not very familiar with it, right? As you were working through neighborhood data, you'd find fewer homes that were similar size to your comparison, right? Specifically, now this change impacts less of people who had smaller units like studios, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. But if you had larger units, 5, 6, 7 bedrooms, what we have realized is that this change does impact how do we do, for example, something as simple as weekday and weekend pricing, and there we'd be 5% more accurate in how we price the properties. So quickly jumping on today, as I go through the webinar, I will be jumping through my PriceLabs screen and the product screen. So please bear with me. I'm going to pop this up, and I am going to hope that you can see this. No, you can't. Okay. Now, hopefully you can. I have a property here, which is a Florida beach house. It's as you can see here, it's a 3-bedroom house, and it's located in Fort Lauderdale. I'm hoping many of you have seen this. We made this change very recently. If you were on your review prices page, and if you like this regular PriceLabs page, and if you click review prices, now it opens up like a card like this rather than scrolling up and down. You can also see what's the bedroom, what's the city. Bedroom is sent to us by the PMS. If your PMS is not sending us the bedroom count, some PMS still don't, then this number may not necessarily show up as the right number. Now, since we know this number, and because we have improved our COM set, this COM set starts to show up in a better way in PriceLabs. And so when I say it starts to show up in a better way, what do I mean by that is, when I go into neighborhood data, and in neighborhood data, you'd see what COM set we're using, and that's the COM set we also use for your dynamic pricing, like our automated algorithms. So here, and give it a few seconds to load. Bear with me. What you'd see is on this right-hand top corner, you would see now this popped up that our bedroom size is a 3-bedroom, and I will also see a current selection. Now I have edited this property to show just 3-bedroom, right? But our default COM set, which is the nearby listing COM set, which is what gets used for dynamic pricing, includes your plus minus 1-bedroom type. Now, if you have a much larger bedroom, say like an 8-bedroom house, and there are very few 8 bedrooms, that COM set may increase from like not just 7 or 9 bedrooms. It may include 6 bedrooms and 5 bedrooms as well for us to get to a very good answer. But your typical, if you have like a 3-bedroom, you'll see 2 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms. This is the COM set nearby listing 2 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms that PriceLabs uses to understand what's happening in your market. And so what you'd be able to see is with that COM set, what is the pricing? The black color line that you see is your price, and then how the rest of the market is priced. So you'd be able to see that very easily. And what that also allows, and if you scroll down, you'd see this table where you'd see, hey, PriceLabs is looking at 350 closest properties, and that is what this mix looks like. We're looking at 114 2 bedrooms, 137 3 bedrooms, and 99 4 bedrooms. Oftentimes we get asked, if my property is 3 bedroom, why are you not just looking at 3 bedrooms? Because from our research, what we have found is that at least the closest properties show similar booking behavior, and oftentimes there is interchangeable use of demand. And so we do want to look at what's happening in terms of demand in those slightly smaller or slightly bigger properties as well. So hopefully that this helps you understand the change that has come in, but net, the value that we're bringing is we're improving how the algorithm works. The pricing change or the impact of pricing change will be lesser at smaller bedrooms, but at a larger bedroom, this will give us better confidence and better pricing. Cool. I'm going to look at quickly some questions that are asked here. And so, okay. So one question that I've been asked is, my property says NA in the bedroom block at the top right corner. How's that determined? We get that from your PMS. If your PMS is still not supporting the or sending us the bedroom count, which is what you see here, then it could show up as NA. But please do reach out to us at support@pricelabs.co, or at the bottom of the screen, if you see here chat, you'll see it here, like quickly email our support team and they'll be able to help you with questions around this, and we'll be able to help you to see why are you seeing NA, if it's the PMS itself or if something else is wrong. And I see Eve and Jan or Yan had the same question, so hopefully that answers it. The only way to change it is make sure it's updated in your PMS, and then from there we will pull it if the PMS supports and allows us to pull it. Cool. There's a question around, does this current selection, which is right here in this section, changing this, does that affect my dynamic pricing recommendations or my base price recommendations? The answer is no, right? Anything that you see in neighborhood data, or the purpose of this neighborhood data and any tweaks that you make here, is more for your benchmarking and for your understanding of what's happening in the market, right? How are your prices looking like in comparison to the market? It does not impact or change how or what comp set will we use for dynamic pricing. The comp set, the properties that we use for dynamic pricing, is something that we calculate to figure out what is the best thing to do, right? And that generally is, if you go to nearby listing and maximize this bedroom comp set, that is the comp set that we use. Now, you may want to just compare how's my pricing compared to other 3 bedrooms, in which case you could take this, you could click and apply, and you'd see how does your black line compare to other 3 bedrooms in your area. That does not change how we do dynamic pricing. The comp set for dynamic pricing would still be 2 to 4 bedrooms, right? But it will allow you to see data slightly differently. Very often, this is called rate shopping or benchmarking, etc., right? While we are on this topic, I also want to address, if you can of course see the occupancies, and I'm going to chat about this in a bit. You can see the bedroom counts. Note that since I've updated this, you're only seeing this table showing just the 3 bedroom 137 count. And then if you go to location and do a show map, it will also show you where are all of those 137 properties located. And then the black dot, again, we're getting that from your PMS, and that's where we understand your property is located. And this rest of the dots are where other properties are located. And if you click on any of these dots, it will open the relevant Airbnb listing as well. Or if you just hover on any of those dots, you'll see the names and their average price, etc., etc. Cool. I am going to, there are a bunch of questions, but I'm going to skip through those and continue to chat about what else has been has been launched in PriceLabs, and then we will try to take more of these questions as I have time at the end of this webinar. All right. So in summary, things that have changed, neighborhood data now also displays like comprehensive and relevant comp set. Like I said, plus minus bedroom sizes. The larger the bedroom size, you'd see a wider spread, but the impact there is a lot bigger of this change. In a smaller bedroom size, like a 1 bedroom or a 2 bedroom, it'll be generally plus minus 1. This is, like I said, has been incorporated into our dynamic pricing as well, and it helps us further refine and improve our pricing recommendations. As we go through this year, we'll talk about changes that we are making to improve pricing recommendations, even though we have been doing this for last 8 years. But there is a constant improvement that we try to make as to how can we improve our pricing recommendations further, and especially when we go through years like 2023, where markets are probably going to be volatile. We want to be on top of it. So you'd see some of those changes and some of those conversations coming through. All right. So while talking about this whole volatility or volatile nature of the market, or how much it's changing, what we have done is we've made several data sets available to you at your fingertips. Now, the reason for making these data sets available is not to say you need to use them, but it is to allow you to use them in case you have in case you wanted to, right? So if you had questions, hey, what's happening in my market? How do I do certain things, etc., right? These data sets allow you to do that very, very easily. And okay. So one of the first things that we have done, if you are familiar with PriceLabs Portfolio Analytics, which is, by the way, a free-to-use tool. And so if you're not familiar, or if you're not using it, I would highly recommend you to look into it and use it. But if you're not super familiar with it, we're going to briefly touch on it. And then I'm also going to refer you to resource of how to learn more about portfolio analytics. But one of the things that has come into portfolio analytics, if you are familiar with it, is at the drop down, you'd now see not just KPI and historic reports, which we used to have. You will also see pacing reports, which has been split into its own separate tab. The reason for splitting this into its own separate tab is historic reports, especially if you're a very involved pricing manager, right? Historic reports are something that you're looking at once a month or once in 2 months, but pacing reports are something that you're looking at weekly or every 2 weeks if you're very involved and if you're doing this, right? Now, also let me say, if you have 1 or 2 properties, you're not looking at pacing reports on portfolio analytics level, but generally if you have like 20, 30, 50, 100 properties, you're looking at more pacing reports at this level. Okay, cool. Cool. Let me quickly hop into my product here. And so what I mean by what I just said is in the product, in the top black bar, we have 3 products. We have dynamic pricing, which is our flagship product, automatic rate updates. Portfolio analytics, where you can see various KPIs about how PriceLabs works, etc., right? Sorry, not how PriceLabs work, but what's happening in your reservation data and your own metrics, right? And then what we have released is pacing reports section in these dashboards, right? And so we're going to quickly look into this. But before that, if you are not familiar with portfolio analytics, and if you want to deep dive into portfolio analytics and understand what's happening, click this icon. It'll take you to training, and if you click, so again, click this icon, you'll see a bunch of things. You see training. If you click that, you'll see portfolio analytics. If you click that, it'll take you to a page where you can register for portfolio analytics webinars or trainings, which we do once a month. I think it's first Thursday or Wednesday of the month when we do this. I would highly recommend doing one of these if you have not done this before. Now, coming to the specific launch that has happened, what we have done is we've introduced a bunch of pacing reports, and the way you'd access that is click Portfolio Analytics and click Pacing. Now, my account is a dummy account, so my pacing data is not as great. I'm going to pull one of my colleagues' account and talk about that here quickly. So if you see my screen, now when you click pacing, you will see a bunch of graphs that show up. Namely, you'd see a pacing section and you'd see a booking curve section. Pacing section refers to how are your properties generally doing in comparison to the market or comparison to last year, right? So specifically, if I want to look at occupancy, you'd see like, and I don't know how visible this is. So let me try to zoom in here. What you'd see is a solid red line, which is my portfolio's current year occupancy. And you'd also see a dotted line, which is my portfolio's last year occupancy at the same time. When I see at the same time, for example, I'm looking at April 1. Today, I am 51% occupied, but last year at the same time, I was only 43% occupied. But at the same time, I mean on March 14th for April 1, which is a Saturday, I'm today 51% occupied versus last year I was 43% occupied. So I am doing better. This kind of information can help you understand how your property is doing relative to last year. Oftentimes, especially as we go through 2023, we may, again, saying the same thing again, we may see a volatile nature in the market. And so you may want to look at how your property or your set of properties are doing in terms of whether that's occupancy, whether that's ADR, or whether that's RevPAR. And we do other webinars to talk about this, but you can see how your properties are doing in comparison to the same time last year. Now, what you can also do, this is your own portfolio's comparison, and you might say, hey, my properties are doing better compared to last year, but are my properties doing better compared to my market? If you do use PriceLabs's market dashboards, then you will be able to pull those market dashboards from here. If you click this, you can say what range, what aggregation, and then you can say which dashboard do you want to pull. And once you pull that dashboard, if you already use us for your com sets, you can pull those com sets and then apply and see that. Again, I want to highlight this. This is a useful feature and useful set of graphs if you're a large property manager, or if you're a revenue manager, you'd find a lot of value in these. If you are like running 1 to 5 properties, we're going to jump into neighborhood data and you're going to find a lot more value there. But not saying that you can't use this. You should still use this, or it's helpful even for a smaller property manager to look at these at a portfolio level as well. The next thing that we have recently launched, and this is now we're getting into the weeds of technical revenue management. So if you're more the hands-off kind of PriceLabs user, you don't really need to understand this. But if you're very hands-on revenue manager, managing 50, 100 properties, looking at things daily, trying to understand and meet budget, this would be helpful. What we've launched is booking curves, and if you're from the world of pricing, these may not be very unusual things for you to see. But what this shows is it shows you an evolution curve of how till the completion date, how your revenue or your occupancy or your ADRs or your RevPARs are evolving, right? So let's talk about revenue, for example. This portfolio made about 748,000 in revenues in Feb, but the way it evolved is 30 days before the Feb ended, it was only 679, and then 60 days before it was 412, and so on and so forth, right? So you can see how my revenues evolved till the days till completion. Days till completion is when it hits 0. That's when Feb month is completed, and how much of my revenue has been met versus March. March is today. we've completed 15 days and we're left with 15 more days. So when this whole month completes, I will see how this month evolves, right? What's interesting to see, for example, which you'd normally expect, is that revenue curves for your summer months, if this is high season. So my May, June, July months are booking quite fast, and I'm seeing good revenues, even though I am solid 90 days out or whatever, 70, 80 days out, right? And then you'd also see how my occupancy evolves. Now, if I start seeing my occupancies are moving a lot faster than what I wanted them to be, I may end up increasing my prices. Or if my occupancies are moving a lot slower than what I wanted it to be, I may want to look at various places, whether that's my price, whether that's my distribution, whether that's my listing photos, etc., etc. But you can see how your occupancy is evolving by month. It's often used by large revenue managers who are every week in there looking at things, right? Now, what you can see here is, of course, several months booking curves for the future months, but you can also compare this with past months. So if, for example, if I removed everything and if I just wanted to look at March 2023 and how did that compare to let's say March 2022 last year. So I can quickly see how is my March curve this year comparing to my March curve last year, and am I doing better or worse when it comes to evolution, right? So for example, now I can see, okay, today I am definitely doing better in revenue with 15 days remaining. Last year I ended at 895,000 versus right now I am already at $894,000 and I still have 15 more days to book. In terms of occupancy this year though, I am lagging behind. Last year by the end of the month I had 72% occupancy. Right now I'm only at 63% occupancy, but granted I have 15 more days left to book. So these graphs allow you to understand the evolution of your markets. Again, if you're a large revenue manager, a lot more useful. Do reach out if you have questions about this. If you're a smaller user, I want to highlight I want to go back into my PriceLabs account, and I want to highlight how you can look at similar things at a listing or a property level. So give this a second. Okay, I'm now in my Florida beach house property. And if I again hop into my neighborhood data, this is where again I would see kind of similar charts as I had at the portfolio level. Now I would see at individual listing level, particularly occupancy, which is a very relevant one when we're thinking about what's going on. So let me quickly say what this graph is. This is an occupancy graph. Again, for the bedroom selection that I have here for 3-bedroom bedrooms in my area. And again, those 137 bedrooms and with that show up on this location. This is how occupied these 137 bedrooms on aggregate are, right? So for example, if I am 70% occupied, that is like, or 80% occupied, 80% of those 137 bedrooms are occupied on this day today. Now, this is normally you'd expect as you go further out, the occupancy will be lower because there are still a lot of days left to book. What we've done here is you can add last year's data here very quickly. And what you can see now is that there are 2 lines that popped up. There is a solid gray line, which is market occupancy last year today. And you'd see a dotted line, which is market occupancy last year final. Last year today is essentially for the same time last year, how occupied was my market, and final, as you can imagine, on that date, what was the final occupancy that the market achieved. What you can see here, at least in the Florida market that I am in, and I'll remove this dotted line just for simplicity, what you can see is my property, my area, the red line is below the gray line. So this is not just reflecting my property, it is reflecting the whole market, where I am generally seeing that this year, this Florida property area is running behind compared to how occupied it was last year. Now, in some cases crazy behind, in some cases not as crazy behind. In fact, near term, it's actually ahead, right? So maybe there is a lot of last minute bookings coming. And then you can also see last year how occupied the overall market was. So like this got occupied more at like 75%, etc. On July, let's find July 4th. On July 4th in this market, the market was 53% occupied. As of today, it's 13% occupied, and same time last year, it was 7% occupied. This helps you understand and use your market data better. We already take this into account. If you're pacing behind, if your market's pacing behind, we'd be adjusting it, but maybe you want to be a little bit more aggressive to saying, I think my market's looking bad. I want to reduce prices a little bit more, or so on and so forth. What you can also do now is also add a pickup data, which if you click here, you'd see the pickup data show up. What this is what is for each of these dates, how many bookings have come in the last 7 days. And so for example, on this date, on March 16th, the market is 80% occupied. Of that, 25% occupancy has just come in the last 7 days, which is showing a fairly strong sign of a very last minute market. And so that can also help you understand, should I be doing last minute discounts more in this market or not, right? Cool. And what you'll also see is in some places, for example, right here, people have already started booking for New Year's or like the holiday weekend here already. So which is why you see there is some percent of occupancy already coming into this market. Finally, we have also done the same thing on market dashboards. We will cover that in our market dashboards webinar. I don't want to spend a lot of time on market dashboards, but the lines are going to be very similar as you have seen on the neighborhood data or on pacing charts. Cool. Quick recap on this then. We've introduced pacing charts again, so that you have data on your fingertips so that you can understand what's happening in your market or with your properties. Once again, PriceLabs are just for this, but if you have expectations of your markets doing much worse or much ahead, you may want to look at it and tweak, particularly helpful for revenue managers as they're looking through. We have a product called Portfolio Analytics, which is a free to use product. Here we have introduced a new section. We always used to have that KPIs and historic reports. We've introduced new pacing reports. Generally, the idea for splitting this is KPIs and historic reports are something that you look maybe monthly, maybe at certain frequency, but more sporadic frequency. Pacing reports, if you're a revenue manager or if you're actively involved, you probably look at those on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks or so, right? On pacing reports, there are 2 new features. One, pacing reports, which is what's happening compared to same time last year, what's happening against the market. And then number 2 that we have launched is booking curves, which helps you understand how your bookings are evolving as your dates approach, right? And again, even there, you can compare current year's months, but also you can compare any prior period to saying how those periods evolved versus your current period evolving, right? So it helps you understand things in a slightly better way possible. We talked about neighborhood data. If you're especially a smaller property manager, neighborhood data helps you understand, one, your current market's occupancy. Number 2, it helps you understand for that same market, for same time last year, what was the occupancy? And then number 3, for any given date, what was the final achieved occupancy? And that helps you get a sense of how far are we from that? Do you want to tweak certain things or not in your market? Again, PriceLabs does take care of it, but if you're actively involved in pricing, then these tools help you. Like one of the things that we want to do is make data tools available to you with ease. Number 3, we've rolled out also pickup curves. We looked at it again in the neighborhood data. Here you can see how many bookings were made in the last 7 days, and that allows you to think about if there was a key event that was announced, you may want to quickly tweak prices. All the PriceLabs would already be doing that, but maybe you want to look at it as well. Finally, we have introduced similar graphs in market dashboards. We're not going to cover that today, but we have a training coming up next month where we'd talk about market dashboards and these curves. We'll also be posting a YouTube channel in the coming weeks to talk about how to look at these graphs again. Cool. Next, we've made a few other updates for better performance and enhanced revenue. If you are using PriceLabs, if you were a Spanish user, or if you know of people who are Spanish users, PriceLabs is now available in Spanish. The people can log in and change their language quickly. Just to show how to do this, if you go into your settings, in PriceLabs, click your name or this corner thing, click settings, and then in profile settings, you would see preferred language. And if you click this drop down, you'll see Spanish. You'll also see French in mine, which is coming soon. It's not available live. All right. Next thing is another change that we've introduced again to make certain visualizations easy for you. Oftentimes we've heard from customers, hey, I go into Airbnb and look at how these 10 other of my competitors are pricing, or these 10 other properties are pricing. And so we've made that, we have had this for a really long time available. But previously, we weren't really showing unavailable dates in a very good way. And we weren't showing what we estimate was the price that it sold at, right? And so in this screenshot, you're seeing this. I'll hop into the product and show this to you again. Going into my pricing dashboard, going into my Florida beach house again, and then going into my neighborhood data again. As I scroll down, if you remember, I've made this 3-bedroom selection. And so with that, I can see all of these properties that are other 3 bedrooms in my area around me that are on Airbnb. You can, of course, see these price graphs which show you general ranges, but you may be, I want to look at these particular 5 homes. This you can do by going into the compare competitor calendar. What you'd first want to do is pick relevant listings. Now, let's say I have already, but I look at this, I like this tropical bay view and coral 5-minute beach. If I click this, I see the property. I like it. I think this is my competitor, or maybe you already have your set of competitors that you're always looking at, right? So if you know those, let's say I want to pick the tropical bay view and coral, I'll just come in, I'll type tropical bay view. I'd see this property, I'll select that. And then I also wanted to select my coral property. What did it say? Coral 5 minutes, right? So I'll do coral 5 minutes. This one shows up. I want to look at those 2 properties. And then once I've selected them, I'll click get calendar. And once I click get calendar, what you'd see is it populating what is your listing, how this is priced at, and how the competitors are priced at, right? Now, remember, I've picked some random dummy listings. So these may not be the exact comparables. You'd probably pull better comparables. What you'd see is here, weekends show up in this lighter color, and then you'd see month shows up here, and then you'd see the whole month. Then you'd again see month July show up, right? So then if I look at June as a month, I can see how my property is priced compared to how the competitors are priced on Airbnb today, right? What you can also see is if there are certain dates that are unavailable, you'd see this slash sign, which means these dates are unavailable for this property. And also you'd see this price. This is our expectation of the last booked price for this property. The way we estimate that is every day we look at what is the nightly rate for each property. And here what we see is this is the last price that we saw before that property got booked. Now the owner may have given some discounts, etc., but this is the last price that we saw before it got booked. And so this is our best estimation of what is the price that that property got booked at. And hopefully if you're using or if you're going into Airbnb to look at other people's pricing, this again allows you to quickly look at pricing very, very quickly of your competitors, right? Cool. Next up is we have introduced 2 more PMS integrations, and we are constantly launching several new PMSs or updates to existing PMSs. And as we do that, you'd be getting emails from us, you'd be getting announcements from us. That for the large part was the key updates that we had introduced this month. We'd also have some more updates coming in next month. I have finished 15 minutes early, so I'm going to spend some time looking at questions, although I also understand that my very good colleague, Nick, has already been asking a lot of questions, has already been answering a lot of questions already. Will this webinar be posted anywhere? Yes, we always post our webinars on YouTube. Normally it takes 24 to 48 hours before you'd see them, but on our YouTube you'd see a playlist which talks about like the product updates playlist, and so you'll see that playlist there. That's where it will be posted on the YouTube channel. Cool. I'll start from the top, unless Nick, if you're here, I see you're answering some questions. I'm not sure how, but if you are around and if you have any specific questions for me to answer, I can look at those. If not, I'll just go from the top. I have a question from Nate that I don't fully understand. Nate's asking, would PriceLabs beat tool to price my unit? Not fully sure I understand that. What does beat tool mean? But yeah, PriceLabs does pricing for your properties. If you have specific questions, please do reach out and let us know. Next, I have an anonymous question. We are hoping to be able to set different prices depending on how many nights a guest books. Cool. I see a question which is around being able to set up prices based on number of nights a guest books, right? This is something that's called a length of stay pricing. We do work with, here we are dependent on the property management systems that we work with. Today, we do support this for 2 property management systems, which is stays.net and Rentals United. We're working with, I know we have 4 others in pipeline that will allow us to update their pricing based on number of nights that a guest is staying. We have Logify, we have Hostaway, Avantio, and Icknia in the pipeline. If you're directly listing on Airbnb or VRBO, you can, on top of pricing, you can set these directly on Airbnb, like a length of stay discount. And we'll also be working on incorporating that between Airbnb and PriceLabs in coming months. All right. Cool. I have a question here. Can I use your system to see what potential yearly gross revenues would be for a property? You can definitely use PriceLabs to understand what potential gross revenues can be. You please use market dashboards for that. If you're not familiar with market dashboards, either YouTube market dashboards, look through our knowledge base for market dashboards, or you can join one of our training webinars that happens monthly about market dashboards. Cool. Nick has answered a bunch of these questions. Nick, if you're on this call, can you speak up? Let me see how is Nick answering these questions. Okay. Nick, I've allowed you to talk.
Hello.
Hey, Nick, thank you. Are there any questions that you haven't answered that you think I should take up?
There were a few that I were not able to straight away answer. Let me just scroll up a little bit.
So Francisco, there's a question around at the moment, what is the source of data for price and demand? We use Airbnb, we use VRBO, we use Booking.com. Those are the three sources that we use. We use Airbnb and VRBO for short-term rental data and Booking.com for hotel data. We also get data from a provider called Key Data, which provides us with source data of various properties. We use that to benchmark what's happening with our properties. We use a data source for events to understand what events are happening in events and holidays, but we're looking to improve our event and holidays data source better.
I've got one here that's probably better for you than for me. It's from Jonathan, and it is, how accurate is your system for predicting gross yearly revenues, and how do you gather the data to predict this data?
Very good question. Accuracy of gross yearly revenues is a very difficult thing because there is a range, right? And something that we are working to change how we show it on the market dashboards. Today, we show you the average revenues. We start showing you 25th and 75th percentile, because as you can imagine, for the same property, very well managed can make very different money than a property that is not very well managed or not very well, does not have good amenities, not well marketed, etc. Right? But generally, we're very good at trying to figure out what the average revenue for a market was. The way we gather this is we look at every day we go into Airbnb's, VRBO, Booking.com. We try to figure out what prices certain properties were listed at. Are they still available? Are they not available? We have our automated algorithms that try to figure out what are owner blocks versus what are not owner blocks, right? What are automated unavailable dates versus what are not unavailable dates. We remove those, and with that, we come up with an understanding of how many days was any given property booked for, and what was it listed. And so that's how we come up with our estimation of revenues. What I will say, the estimations become more accurate if you're looking at aggregate level, right? Rather than looking at one individual property. If you're looking at one property, it's more error prone. But if you're looking at, hey, I'm looking for 2-bedroom properties in this area, and I have 50 or 100 2-bedroom properties in this area, then the estimate is a lot more accurate than just looking at one property.
Got another one from Monica. In the specific competitor comp set prices calendar, does the price include added promotions or discounts if the host is running?
No, it shows you the listed price of that property. It does not include any like if they have like a 7-day discount, right? Or last minute promotion, that doesn't show up. It only shows up the nightly rate today.
Another one here from Tech Cheng from I heard PriceLabs doing a midterm rental calculator. Is that out yet?
Not yet out, but we are working on it. But you can, if we don't have Nick take down that name, because I think we're building a full product out of it, but you can still try to get to that information from our market dashboards. And so we can send you some information on how to get to like the midterm revenues from the market dashboards.
Okay. One from Justin. We've actually been talking about that with the team. How can I find the exact nightly rate price a property booked at? Example, property is booked for March 15th to 18th. I go on PriceLabs 48 hours later, and the prices have updated. How do I find the individual nightly rate it was booked?
Yeah, today we don't, we store it. You can see it in portfolio analytics, right? And you'll see basically I'll show you quickly. Do I have a portfolio analytics open here? Yeah, I do have a portfolio analytics open. Today you can see that in, what screen am I sharing? Today you can see that in portfolio analytics by looking at, it's slightly backwards, right? You can see it if I do like a daily revenue curve. I can see for every day how much revenue I have generated. And so you can, in some ways, back into it because we have that data. Today, we don't show it on the pricing calendar, but like I said earlier in this call, we're fundamentally changing how we store data and how we save data. And we've done that in the last 6 months. And so in coming months, we will actually be able to show you what price was your property booked at on the pricing calendar itself. Today, we have that data, but it's not stored in a way that we can easily show it to you on your pricing calendar.
I've got another one that I think pops up quite often from Jess Reynolds. It's will you be integrating a whole price so that the cleaning fees can be objectively compared?
Can you say that again, please?
Will you be integrating a whole price so that cleaning fees can be objectively compared?
Today, we don't have a plan to show or include cleaning prices, but that's a good suggestion. We'll take that back to the product and data science team to think about this. Alrighty, what else, Nick?
Another one from Torin is, if my occupancy is lagging behind the market per the pacing section, how should I analyze the amount I need to adjust my base price down?
Generally, Torin, if your occupancy is lagging behind in the pacing section, you would see PriceLabs already recommending you to drop your base price and in the base price help section. So again, go back to my PriceLabs account. Let me share my screen again. So if I'm in my PriceLabs account, if you click this help me choose a base price, you will see PriceLabs recommending what, and let this load, sorry, but you will see what your current base price is, which you can also, of course, see here, it's 488. And you will also see what PriceLabs is recommending. So for example, in my case, my base price is 488. Again, granted, my property is a dummy property, and it's saying your property has lower historical listing occupancy. We do recommend to drop this down, and what PriceLabs is recommending is to drop it down to 432. So that's kind of how I would go about this. That's kind of how I would go about this.
We've got another one from Laurie, and she's asking, can I schedule a one-on-one consult? There's 4 questions, actually. Do changes I make on Airbnb override PriceLabs? Can we modify cleaning rates on PriceLabs? Does PriceLabs take into account amenities, i.e. a hot tub?
Yeah. Okay. Can I schedule one-on-one consultation with PriceLabs? If you have any specific questions, Laurie, we'd be happy to take it on. But in order to keep the prices of using PriceLabs really low for our users, we try to avoid the one-on-one consultations. We do a lot on our a basic training webinar, on our advanced training webinar that really talks about how PriceLabs works and how to get the best out of PriceLabs. But having said that, if you still have questions, shoot us an email at support@pricelabs.co with the specifics of what is it that you'd like to discuss, so that we can also prepare and effectively use your time on the call. Do I do changes I make on Airbnb override PriceLabs? No. If you're using PriceLabs for pricing, whether that's Airbnb, whether that's any other OTA, whether that's any other PMS, or property management system, changes that you make in PriceLabs will override, whether you make or not. Whatever PriceLabs has in terms of pricing, your nightly price particularly, will override anything elsewhere. So if you do something in Airbnb, PriceLabs will go in tomorrow and override that. But making changes in PriceLabs is fairly simple. If you guys can still see my screen, if I want to just change a certain date, I can drag select on the date and change whatever I need to, right? If I need to put a specific fixed price or add some percentage on top of PriceLabs' recommended price, I can quickly do that. Number 3, can we modify cleaning rates on PriceLabs? No, we primarily look at dynamic things, and today we don't see cleaning rates being as dynamic. Those are more fixed rates, and you can do that on your property management system or on your channel. Does PriceLabs take into account amenities like hot tub? in a partial way, we take amenities into account, which is not specifically knowing if your property has hot tub, but if your property has hot tub and if you think that it will make, like, one, it should be priced higher, you can adjust your base price for it. And number two, if because your property has a hot tub makes it book a lot more compared to other properties in your area, then PriceLabs' prices will go higher for your property, right? Or if vice versa, if having a hot tub makes your property book less, PriceLabs prices will go lower than related to other properties, like for like.
We've got another one from Walter. When will there be more shared about the MinStay settings beta? I'm using it and it says you recommend setting a seasonal MinStay, but not by how much.
The seasonal MinStay, we have it. It's more an engineering effort for us to show it to you. We're working on it. I don't have an immediate timeline, but I would say in the next 3 months, we will make that available and show it to you fairly clearly. Yeah.
I think this one we can still fit in from Adela. Market price is 204 for my property. Your system recommends 314. So far, no reservations at a lower price. Why should I get more at a higher price as recommended?
Should I get more at a higher price? I think Adela, you're talking about base price that's coming from PriceLabs. Very specific question. Please do shoot us an email at support@pricelabs.co, because then we'd be able to look into specifics of what's happening with your property and how we can adjust and look into it. Cool. Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Cool. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining on this webinar. Really, really appreciate it. And Nick, thank you so much for answering everything while I was blabbering away. And once again, guys, if you have specific questions about what PriceLabs, how to use PriceLabs, I would highly recommend we spend a lot of time doing and organizing these trainings. So again, if you click this hat icon, click training, and then any of these trainings, PriceLabs 101, 201, which we, Nick, reminder for Karishma to change the names on this. But this is like a basic training of how to use PriceLabs, a very advanced training. Generally, we recommend for larger users, market dashboards and portfolio analytics. I would highly recommend attending these trainings to get a better understanding of PriceLabs. If you have specific questions, you can always search here in the knowledge base and you'd see answers to the question. For example, I see what constitutes red, green, blue in terms of occupancy percentage. Now, if I was to just, I'm taking a wild guess here. If I do red, this thing pops up listing health, which I do know what it stands for. And so, Matt, to your question, if you were to search for red or listing health, it will show you what do each of these colors actually stand for and what do they mean. Cool. In terms of reaching, Laurie, in terms of reaching out to PriceLabs, if you can still see my screen, if you see this thing right here at the bottom of it, if you have an immediate question, more like an urgency, you can always reach out to our chat team. Or if you have a quick question and you're going to walk away, you can shoot us an email by filling in your details here and submit, and then our team will reach out to you via email as well. All right, with that, we are at time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Hopefully this was useful. Like I again said, we'll be uploading this webinar onto YouTube in the next 24 to 48 hours. Thank you so much for bearing with me. And once again, signing off, Richie and Nick from PriceLabs, and I'll see you again next month around same time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.